Welcome back to the pumpkin patch. My name is Rick, and today I'm going to show you how to steer the pumpkin vines and how to bury the pumpkin vines. Basically how to care for the plant once it develops. Today is June 27, 2022. My plants are between 2 months and 2.5 months old. Got a few pumpkins out there already. So let's take a look at them, see what we got. This is plant number 4. This is the one I'm going to demonstrate with. But first I'd like to show you this pipe I got. A little bit of engineering. This is some sort of PVC pipe that I put into the ground. What I did was as these pumpkins, this main vine on plant number 3 was growing, I could kind of see what was going to go on with these vines. And I know how it is with my watering hose and dragging it around and then dragging it over pumpkin plants, or trying to round a bend and get it over a vine or under a vine, and it just causes destruction. It's not worth it. I don't have a watering system except for hand watering. I use the hose, I use a bucket, and I take my time, do a good job. But I don't have a timer, I don't have a drip system, and so everything out here, if it's going to be watered, I'm watering it. So what I do is I take the garden hose and take off the nozzle, obviously, stick it in this end, pull it through the other end, and then drag it out that way where I can water my bush Goliath tomato, my cherry tomatoes, these pumpkins, this pumpkin plant number 5, the backside of pumpkin plant number 3. And I can get this all good and watered without destroying things. And I could have probably pulled it off up to this point without this little tunnel. But what was going to happen, as all this fills in and all these plants grow and grow and grow, it's going to get tougher and tougher to get around there without adding more garden hoses, and then water pressures kind of, it causes an issue. I like it this way. So that being said, as these vines start growing out of pumpkin plant number 5, this is a secondary vine, here's another one, they're going to keep coming out this way. These are still growing, and I want them to keep growing. So this is going to fill in. My pathway is probably going to be gone soon. So in anticipation of that, I cleared out some of this morning, buried some vines and dug away some dirt and weeds and stuff, so this can go out here. This will probably come out some. There'll be like a tiny path here left maybe, and that's cool. There's my pumpkin 3A hanging in there, my best so far. So on the other side of this pumpkin plant number 5, I will create a little path to get back to this pumpkin and everything else. In other words, this is going to be all, I'm going to bury these vines, water them, this will probably grow in. And then if it gets too crowded, maybe I can turn this one this way. Same with this one, start turning it this way so they can do some more growing. So, you know, I like to start with the basics. Some people know a lot, some people know a little. You know, if it's boring, then, you know, find one that's a little more advanced. But this video is pretty basic. But, you know, you got to learn to walk before you can run. So I'm kind of like walking or maybe jogging right now. So that's the trunk, basically the base of the pumpkin plant. Here's the parts of the pumpkin plant. The trunk. These vines coming off the back, these are actually a main vine also. It's one of the main vines, but we're not that concerned with that one coming off the back. Keep it alive, nurture it and everything, but most of the big pumpkins you're going to want you have success with on the main vine that comes out this way, the long vine. So as you see, the main vine comes all the way out like this. It's gotten, you know, what's that, 16, 17 feet so far. Off of the main vine comes the secondary vines, and then off of the secondary vines come the tertiary vines. I don't even see any here. Here's one that looks like starting. So you have the trunk, the main vine, the secondaries, the tertiaries. Like with this plant, and I believe it was Mike Schmidt makes mentioned in a video that he makes concerning growing pumpkins. This guy knows what he's doing, but he mentioned how to hook them around, send the vine back the other way to save space, or to do keep everything in one area. And so that's what I'm going to do with this one. So it's hot today, so you can kind of move these. See, I just kind of pick this up. They move, especially when it's hot. I live in Southern California, so first thing in the morning is probably not great. Late at night's not great. They'll move a little. But really, when they're hot, you can see how pliable and flexible it is. I was already kind of staring at it this way. It has started off coming, this plant, it started off coming straight out this way. And that would be going out towards my back door. So that's not what I want to keep some of my yard. I'm ripping my yard up, and pretty soon I'll have no yard. So I'm trying to conserve that, plus use the soil and the space I have here and keep everything, compact basically. So I'm going to turn it this way. First I'll dig up that grass, turn it this way, bury that vine. This grass comes right up. See, I was doing this earlier. This is a handy little tool here. This really digs this crap up. But I water the grass pretty good. I get it good and wet a few days before it. And just, it doesn't take long to get this whole area. What I'm going to do is get this whole area out, because I'm actually going on another vacation. So I have to have this stuff ready, because I'm going to be gone for a week. And it's going to grow a lot. So I want to get it pretty ship shape before I get going out of here. So this vine will now come across this way. These vines will keep coming out like this and probably, I guess, crisscross. And I can at least get to everything. I have one pumpkin on this plant. Like I said, it's about 2 months old, 2 months and a few days. This pumpkin is 8 days old. And it's all right. It's got an odd shape. I'm understanding that inside the female flower, there's those little receptors. I don't know exactly what they're called offhand, but these little receptors, if they're not at the right number, like an odd number, and one's like a little malformed or something, the pumpkin comes out crazy. So it's like a little lumpy. So I learned something there, So as this plant grew, it grew slow. And I think all this grass around it really hindered it. That's one of the problems with all this grass, is it's robbing the moisture, the nutrients and the water. But as it's been going, I've been burying all these vines, as you can see, coming out this way. This one I held off on because this pumpkin starts getting bigger, it's going to raise up. So I don't want that one to be buried yet. And then from pumpkin plant number 3, as this came out this way, it was going on down the street, I turned it off. I use these little stakes here, turned it off this way. And it's going to eventually come out here. And I'm just going to keep growing it, I guess. The products I use for soil when I bury the vines, it takes time to dig up dirt. I've dug up my yard 2 or 3 times so far. But as you dig it up and break it up, it does take some time. It's worth it, though, to mix that up with some other amendments. But a lot of times I just don't have the time or the energy for it, so mostly just don't have the time for it. So I use these basic products here, some chicken manure, some topsoil, and this product right here. Big shout out to Home Depot. I'm always going up there and loading the van up with all kinds of stuff. Sand, picked that up at Home Depot also. That's for putting underneath the pumpkins. But what I do is I mix those 3 up in my wheelbarrow, just a little of this, a little of that, preferably with some of my own dirt that I've dug up. If it's just the bagged soil and you put it on the pumpkin vines, it just tends to wash off pretty easy. Now, as far as the instructions I promised, I'll show you how to bury the vines. This was already buried up to here. What I did, I moved them aside. Let me find one I can move. I move them aside. If these tendrils are grabbing hold of something, just don't rip them. Maybe tear off the weed that it's attached to. and you know, you can cut the tendril or whatever. I like to leave those, but they'll grab stuff, and so maybe pull or chop that little weed that's, or stick or whatever it's held on to, and then pull it out of the way. And then you would take a shovel. Right now I'm just going to use this hand trowel, and you would, you know, dig a pretty good 2-3 inches down. And I keep digging. I try to dig extra, you know, and this just a demonstration. And then you just lay it back down, see if it lays flat. If it doesn't, or if these things are sticking up, dig a little deeper hole. Get it down a few inches, 3-4 inches down. Here's why. Well, you get it down a few inches and you bury it with dirt and your mix with your compost or your chicken manure or whatever. To see what happens. If you just have it flat on the ground and you put some light compost or even dirt on it, every time you water it, it's going to want to wash that away. Plus the soil underneath might be harder for those roots to go down. So I dig like a little trench. I like that technique. And then I lay the vine inside the trench, and pile some dirt up on there. When it comes to these flowers, that's a male flower. If I think I'm going to need the flowers, I try to work around it. I've been told that if it gets buried, it's gonna pop up. It's gonna be fine. Same with a smaller leaf. But if I want them, if I think I'm gonna need some more male flowers, I try to work around it. And if I don't need them, I would just go in there like this and kind of kill them. I just squish them with my fingers. See, like here, even when I see them, as things get going, I just go along and start killing these things. Same with baby pumpkins, because that's just more energy going to flower production, less energy going to your pumpkin. Once you got a pumpkin on there, you want to not have a lot of flower production, a lot of this and that. You want leaves and roots and pumpkin, in my humble opinion. So as you bury up the vine, here's a good little showing of what that would look like. See, all the way along here, all buried. And then you have the vine back in place in the little trench, burying as we go. Do not go to the very end. See, leave some. That's a couple feet, because it's going to want to, these are going to want to sprout more and keep growing. And then after it goes a few more feet out, I bury a little more. Dig a little more, bury a little more. Just stay in advance of it. So if I get another video out, it's going to show this plant looking a little different. It didn't get very big, you know. I'm talking about growing giant pumpkins here. A little plant is not going to grow a giant pumpkin. So I think what happened, I didn't have the soil prepped enough, not enough nitrogen, not enough water. I just didn't get for whatever reason, the seed, whatever, the plant didn't get big enough before it started making pumpkins. So now I'm kind of playing catch up. I've got pumpkins on it and trying to get some leaves and roots growing so I can feed that pumpkin. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this one or not. Like I said, that's 8 days. I don't mind the little bumpy shape if it gets big, you know. But I'm thinking 8, maybe 10 feet away from the trunk as we come along here. See this one here and this one here? That actually flowered this. That looked like it opened this morning. It might have already gotten pollinated by some bees. And then we've got this one. These are more like 15 feet away. And if I get a pumpkin going up there, I might go ahead and kill that first one. I'm putting 1 pumpkin on a plant, except for number 5. I'm putting on 2, just because I feel like it. And plant number 1, I'm putting 2 on that one too. I'm thinking that if, you know, for the size pumpkin I'm looking for, if I can really just take care of it. This is a big plant too. See, this one's much nicer. Look how big. Much nicer. So for what I'm looking at, I'm understanding that you can put 2 pumpkins on a plant. They might not be as big, but they can work together. They can share. All right, folks, thanks for watching.